We've got our own Roch Kubatko here with us from MASNsports.com, and you've watched this career since his name was called by the Orioles. I mean, this is somebody, and I want to drive this home to fans. He was set to host an event Sunday here for a charity after they have their game, before they have their doubleheader on Monday. He and Cedric Mullins took the torch of big league impact after Kyle Gibson departed. And now that's going to kind of be on Cedric to host it without his best buddy. Hayes got Cedric kind of going again this year once he got reactivated. It's almost impossible to put it into a quick pregame show every moment that Hayes has had for this team on and off the field.
Yeah, but at least the trade deadline's over now, right? That's it. No, it's not.
Is this wishful thinking?
I thought Machado being back was going to be the big storyline. They're playing the Padres, right? That's what happens. Yeah, I mean, Hayes is a big loss beyond the numbers, and he was extremely popular here, and he went through it, and I talked about that. This is a guy that went through the rebuild, went through the injuries, and it wasn't because he was soft. He just had a lot of freakish things happen. He played through the pain, came out the other side, was an all-star. And I guess we shouldn't be shocked they trade from the Major League roster. It seems a little unusual when two teams among the best in baseball make this kind of swap for Major League talent. But we'd heard rumors about Mullins and Ryan Mountcastle. It ended up being Austin Hayes, and this is a guy that, he was struggling this year. He lost a lot of time in spring training. He had that illness where he lost a significant amount of weight, had to bring that back, and other things happening. So, it was tough on him this year, but he still found ways to contribute, played a great left field, and was a leader in that clubhouse. And, he was probably a non-tender candidate if he didn't get traded because he had one more year left. He had won his arbitration case, $6.3 million. You want to get something for him. It's just crazy the turnaround from a guy who wanted to sign a long-term deal and stay here. I know his agent had talked about it, one of the faces of the franchise, all the community work, just somebody that suddenly was a part-time player, and I know he wasn't happy about it, but he sucked it up and went out there. But I know his agency was like, hey, if you can't play this guy, maybe a trade would be the best thing. It's just amazing how quickly that all turned around for him.
It really, the storyline we went in with this season was these veteran anchoring outfielders. The outfield was set. Everybody else was what they were still kind of figuring out, and instead it is ultimately a very, very different picture here. And to your point, you love that. Yeah, he wasn't happy. No one's going to be happy if they're playing part-time. But where you've watched other teams, sometimes the veteran does take that out on the rookie who is getting that playing spot. That was never in Hayes. But look at the return of this here. Sir Anthony Dominguez, we'll start with him first, the reliever from Philadelphia. Now, what's interesting is his numbers have kind of been up and down this year. He can tend to be a really big force. And talking to some of the coaching staff earlier today, they said, well, one thing that I definitely remember is if he's got the cut and the sinker really firing up, he's like a Rivera. We can't touch him.
Right. It's a power arm. It's an upper 90s fastball plus slider, sinker. The numbers overall don't look great, but he got off to a bad start. Then he had identical 1.04 ERAs in exactly 8 2/3 innings in May and June, 1 earned run allowed. And it is, again, it's an arm, a big arm. He's got closing experience with 28 saves. So maybe he can go ahead and back up Kimbrel. So, you have to give up something to get something. They're excited about him, and they've been in the market for at least one reliever. So that part made sense as well, though the Phillies ended up subtracting. So I think that this part could be big for them. This makes sense to bring in a guy like that, even though he's had some ups and downs, and that has been cited. That's an arm that they can do something with. This organization is known for taking that kind of guy with that kind of arsenal and getting the best out of him.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, they've got Christian Pache coming back in this too. Outfielder, one time a top prospect. He's seen time in Oakland, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and obviously now here with Baltimore. The other side, though, you mentioned taking these pitching arms and really bringing something out of them. Zach Eflin, who already comes from Tampa Bay, and the running joke is always, if Tampa's looking at a pitcher, everybody else should be looking at them too. So here's the move here. Orioles get Zach Eflin for the rotation, and they'll send out a trio of minor leaguers in the return here for Tampa Bay. And once again, the consensus downstairs right after this happened, of course, was after we had already talked to the skipper. But the other staff were down there, and they said, well, I remember him dicing us to pieces. And they like that he has had so much experience with different stuff working with the pitching lab in Tampa.
And within this division. And a guy who doesn't walk anybody. Like, that's the thing. 13 walks at 110 innings this year, and that's his MO. So he's got great control. The overall numbers aren't as good as they were last year when he was 6th in Cy Young voting in the American League. He's a really good starter, and he's, team control next season, $18 million. You have to look ahead as much as you're all in on 2024. They've got some major holes in that rotation for next year. So at least you have this guy, and he could maybe slot higher up. Corbin Burns is a free agent. Obviously, we know the guys that are hurt. So it makes a lot of sense. And they didn't have to give up one of those top-tier prospects to get this guy. And that doesn't mean they're done. They may still be doing that. But just the guy whose name kind of surfaced earlier, somebody they could be interested in and wouldn't have to give up as much. Middle-of-the-rotation guy. He can't start now before Monday. And they have a doubleheader here, obviously, against Toronto because he had pitched on Wednesday. But he's a guy who eventually playoff rotation, Burns, Rodriguez, Eflin. And plus you have Kramer, and if they do anything else, it's not bad.
Okay, so we got to remember two things here then. Until Tuesday night, we write from the top.
Yes.
And we say hi to Mom.
Hi, Mom. I have a no-trade clause. Don't worry.
This is Roch Kubatko breaking it down with us. He's going to keep an eye on this entire hot market that we have going on right now. Kicked off last night while the Orioles flew home to Baltimore. And again, we'll run through Tuesday night. So Birdland, keep your eyes open because we don't know when or if the next move is going to happen.
Yes.
Thanks for breaking that down with us.
Thank you.